Well, from what I understand, um, and this makes sense because I remember when I kind of first got exposed to some things, I thought I was totally the first person to see this. I didn't know what was going on. I mean, I had some very irrational, but seemingly rational explanations. Um, I'm sure I looked quite crazy, which wasn't really, anything different for me. In other words, the only benefit I have, I guess, if I can reap some reward of people saying, "Dude, you're just on drugs," and I'll say, "I know that, but I don't know what that has to do with, this incident that I'm showing you. Like, just because I'm on drugs does not mean that this did not happen or this isn't occurring. Like, can we look aside from that? This isn't a DUI case or I'm getting pulled over or something. This is something I think you should be concerned with." So, you get brushed aside and it starts making you frustrated. And as I mentioned in a previous, little thing I wrote, it started getting kind of militant about like, it kind of went into like, okay, well, whatever. Well, you're going to find out the hard way, into like, yeah, well, cha-ching, wait till you find out what's about to happen. Then we'll see who's laughing. Like it's kind of like sarcasm because I saw it happening that way. And then I started feeling like, that's not cool, bro. Like they're not trying to be assholes about it. They're not trying to be rude. They really didn't get it. Like you didn't get it. Remember, you didn't get it. Now, everyone has their own way of doing things. Personally, like when I got exposed to some things in 2010, to be quite honest with you, my first reaction was a stunning one, which was I actually threw up. I got so sick to my stomach. Like that's how it physically affected me. And I spoke to people for years afterwards who were going through spiritual awakenings and what I call physical world awakenings, which is kind of what I'm addressing now, where you might see some things that 10 years ago you didn't even believe were real if you saw them on a TV show or a documentary or something. And your first reaction is going to be, I mean, once it sinks in, what's really going on, you start really kind of freaking out. It's just a natural reaction. And I would like to tell you what I have discovered, 2 to 3 years after sort of what I was, what you're looking at here. Um, you've heard about the conspiracy theories and this and that. I don't like that term at all because they're charging that with something. But to make a long story short, we're 100% correct in what we're saying, and that's kind of been probably for a good purpose suppressed from everyone else finding out about it. Now, I don't mean this in any kind of arrogant way, because we're all crazy out here in California, but that may be one of the reasons why, like, it got introduced into California. And our reaction was, like we've seen this all the time, which was, holy crap, dude, this has never happened before in history. Like, are they using laser beams? Like, I have no idea. That's what they're saying. We're saying. I've never. I don't know anyone who's saying that that's going on here. People say directed energy weapons. You got to keep in mind we don't know how to explain these, and we've been seeing them for 40 years. I just think it's unusual that it wasn't like it was building up and like, hey, there's a new idea that's been spreading. It was overnight something happened in California, and millions of people think that they were attacked by laser weaponry. So that I mean, that kind of explains to you the I know we're talking about soft conditioning, but I wanted to blend into you like you're being told that like there's some people out here that waste their time coming up with some theories, and I think that's kind of unfortunate because it takes away the humanitarian element, which is very existent. Which is I know people who don't want to talk about this. I know people who live in Santa Rosa and lost everything, and they can't say any. They don't want. They're scared to death to say something about this. And I have the luxury of being on drugs, being single, and sort of having a I don't give a fuck attitude, and thus been anointed by the God of, I might have a job for you anyways that no one else really wants, and no one will listen to you, but at least it'll kind of pacify you in the chaos and the madness. The fact of the matter is, these fires are absolutely record breaking. There's never been anything close to this ever happening in California, and I don't mean like they're doubled. I don't mean like, it's like a hurricane. These hurricanes are really intense out on Florida and stuff like that. They down there know, like, we've gone through a lot of hurricanes. So in Iowa, you can sit here and go, oh, you guys, it's just, maybe it is global warming that, the storm is that powerful. You don't really need to lecture people in Florida about their hurricanes. It tends to create a backfire. Same with California. Like, oh, you guys have to cut your trees down That's what's causing fires to move at the rate of 60 football fields a minute. That's 3 miles a minute is the rate of spread of these fires. And yeah, they're not all happening in the forest. Yeah, they're like burning down McDonald's and Applebee's and entire shopping centers inside of town cities, basically. So that I think is one of the more concerning things that I think gets people is I don't even live in that woods. I know. And what's really even weirder is that the house is gone and none of the fucking trees burned. So then you go to the Bible and you start understanding things. And I think maybe that was one of the things that you had to do. I'm glad I was prepared for that because I'll kid you not, man. It's like that was my sanctuary. And we live in a sanctuary state. It's like I was like, okay, this makes sense now. The Holy Spirit is helping me out and guiding me and giving me some peace here. And I start realizing, when I looked at the history of the fires in like Oakland Hills and events like this, and there's nothing like this ever before. I mean, everyone who was witnessing was like this, to quote them and use my terminology, this is some Armageddon shit, bro. This is fucking apocalyptic shit, bro. And they weren't kidding, dude. The amount of people that were killed is very small. It's miraculous, to be honest with you. The Santa Rosa fire, I believe something like 40 people. And I mean, they had every single firefighter, police department, everything you could think of. Even reverse 911s, which didn't work well because, 77 phone towers went down at the exact moment that the fire started. There was about 30 fires that started over a 100-mile radius in the same 15-minute period. No, it wasn't arson. We think it was an arc power line or something like that. But anyways, again, we don't really need to focus in on things like that as much as clearly people could have been much more hurt here besides losing some sort of physical property here. Same with the city of Paradise, town of Paradise, California, up in the mountains. They don't watch many YouTube videos because we were kind of like saying like, hey, if you live in a fire-prone area or even if you don't live near anything flammable, there's something going on that you need to know about. And these fires, like, it's not just a drought. We don't know how to explain it to you because we got 30 inches of rain last year. I know things, it was dry summer, things like that, but these fires are very, combustible. There's very explosive evidence, and it's, not just a YouTube video, because like I said, I live in California. I wasn't totally unfamiliar with a lot of the things I was seeing. I didn't see it on this scale. I didn't see it where the whole city is now being exposed to things that usually were not discussed or talked about, especially in front of, law enforcement people or people who could like put you in a hospital for mental disorders or anything. Usually you don't say anything. But someone has to say something. And I don't know if we've helped anybody. I know that all of us feel that way. I mean, I've seen other people that sort of make these videos obsessively, and I could see how some people would take it the wrong way. And yet I think about it and I'm like, I'm not really enjoying this as much as like no one else is saying anything. And I've gotten that look from people of like, I can't say anything, dude. I'm scared to say something for whatever reason. And I've always kind of had that warm hand on my shoulder of like, dude, don't worry about it. Like, you're going to be better off, even if you look crazy or whatever. You're not trying to scare anyone, because what you're saying is, I'm telling you this to not be scared, but to be prepared. Because I'm fine. I actually live in the forest area. I, at this moment, don't have concerns that my house is about to burn down. And, you think you would right off the bat, because you see a lot of innocent people, basically making sacrifices is what it gets down to. But if you look into it, what you start hearing are really miraculous stories. Like I said, with Paradise, I think under 100 people passed away in that fire. We don't even know the exact details because the media, whether they're sugarcoating it or they're making it too extravagant, we have to, they're calling it alternative media. Basically, we have to send people there to find out what's going on. We have to have people talk to us in motorhomes and shit like that. When I say us, I mean the ground crew. There's a group of people. We all know who we are. There's some names that are popular, some that are not on YouTube. That's kind of besides the point. We've all been talking to each other for a long time. We have codes. We have methods of basically understanding these things. And we don't know who the hell's watching us and who's not. Well, we kind of know they are watching us. But they've been very cool with us so far. I mean, we've all had our issues, but that's all part of it. It's what's the saying? You know, a good sailor, doesn't become a good sailor of a ship by navigating just calm oceans. And so, yeah, we've all had our problems, but it's sort of been training, if you want to call it that. Our personal life, you get someone who's gone through some really crazy stuff in life, whether it's your tattooed, friend, the girl, with the tattoos of skulls down her arm, and she's a 15-year-old girl. She tends to be the one who would see these things first. Now, I'm not saying I'm that girl, as much as, well, you got to admit, if it comes to shit that looks like it's like on LSD, acid, crazy, Dawn would relate, according to what you guys have said. Although I'm telling you, I've had a hard time relating to all this. But I definitely feel it's my obligation, and it's something that I get, shut down on a lot, and I never really have anyone say to me like, "Hey, man, thanks a lot." But I mean, one person who says that to me, and I have had that said to me. Yeah, I mean, it makes my year, where you're getting a lot of people who are essentially spitting on you and saying, crazy things about, really believing that you're making this up for some sort of gain or something like that. And that you've made these specific claims. And I'm like, no one knows the truth, bro. I know they call us truthers and we say we know the truth. What we're saying is we know that what they said wasn't accurate. What they're telling you is not accurate. And I'm not trying to force feed it anything to you, because the fact of the matter is, I don't think anyone should believe anything that's told to them by another person. But you definitely, when you see something like this, this was always my goal, was to say, that crazy fucking guy, Don, this is exactly the shit that he said he was seeing. But don't go into a panic. Go into, maybe he's not crazy, I love him. Maybe he loves us and he was trying to tell us something, and he was sacrificing his sanity or his appearance of it, or want to be, normal, in saying, I'm going to take the point here because I realize these motherfuckers don't get it yet. Excuse my language. But when they see it, they'll understand he was trying to soft condition them. Because, I'm not going to be able to make anyone believe these things, and I don't expect you to, and I don't expect to put a definition on them. If you want to discuss them, we can have a many, many drinks and talk about it, which is usually how you deal with these. Or you just brush it aside and say, you know what? I kind of get there's a lot going on behind the scenes. I don't want to discuss it. I know that sounds all cordial, but that's essentially how we deal with it. Like, I get it, bro. We know. That's all I have to hear. Or I know. But when I pull back on the throttle a little bit at first, and it would panic me the most, was seeing people that were seemingly so unaware that it was a problem. They didn't understand what was going on. They were demanding answers. They weren't simply, we're not going up to strangers who aren't paying attention unless it's something like, humanitarian aid or something like that that's not being done, which I think is another problem. That this whole, like, I'm just going to worry about myself right now attitude, it turns into, well, to be honest with you, worrying about other people is sort of going to become worrying about yourself. I think that's sort of the big picture here. We don't have to get religion or gods involved in it, but the whole, like, maybe we should, that whole cliche John Lennon thing, like, imagine, oh yeah. So I just got to suck it up and be like, that's the reality of it. I didn't have a problem with that in the first place, but I don't feel like a pussy saying, to a stranger, I love you, man. If you have any problems, you can come and help me, and meaning it, because like I said, I don't think that I am special or unique in experiencing these things, however they may manifest. If it's a snowstorm or a blizzard that you have never witnessed in life in the Midwest, or if it's a fire moving at 80 football fields a minute, I've had 3 house fires and lost everything I owned. So when I looked at it that way, because I thought, what would, people in Paradise, California say at your fucking videos? And I would say, they'd probably say, do you know what it's like to have lost all of our property? And then you say, well, at least you have your life. I'm not saying that. I'm saying what's amazing is whatever's guiding these things clearly cares about human life. Because they're driving through these fires. They're moving so fast. And yet you hear a couple stories about like how people may have died in cars or whatnot. And I have to say, the fact of the matter is 100,000 people could have been killed here easily. They're comparing this to like a nuclear blast. And the destruction is exactly the same as Hiroshima. And we're talking like under 100 people died or passed away, and they couldn't even get the numbers. And then they're saying a lot of people are missing. And then when you look at the footage, you go, really, instead of getting so aggro and upset about it, I think we should be extremely thankful. And then sort of like, not just thankful for our lives, but I'm like thankful, like, I'm sort of feeling blessed, like even things that are unrelated to this trained me to be exposed to this, because I wouldn't want to take that whole lump of castor oil at once, And so you start thinking like, wow, I've been through a lot of shit in my life, from depression to drugs and all that. That definitely did not hurt my ability to comprehend the radicalness of this, while I'm seeing other people who are going through it kind of have a nervous breakdown, but they haven't been through a lot of crazy stuff in life. These things were just always normal for them. And this is a new normal. And I hate saying that word, because we always said the new normal is a red flag. What? If you hear someone say it, it means they're trying to cover something up. And that's just always my approach towards it. But I'm not saying that in the sense of like, you guys need to panic and stress out. I'm saying in the sense of I'm still alive. We're all still alive. We're looking at these things. People can even kind of, laugh about it now. And there's some, downs and ups or whatnot. I mean, it's a classic scenario, just at a more advanced level of life. But again, these fires, you just might see some radical stuff. I'm just putting it that way. So get used, kind of get used to it, or just, I hate to hear, that you didn't know anything about it. That Don told you, but that made you think it was totally not true. I really hate hearing that. I'm sorry. Because that's, if you've known me for more than a few years, or, whatever, that motherfucker went on Oprah and he told her off when everyone else like disagreed with him. Like, I'm the type of person who will say something where later on you go, I don't like him for saying something, but he wasn't lying. He was speaking from the heart, and he was speaking some truth. So, it could come in any way, shape, or form. You never know. But, I just write what comes from the heart and upon me. And I don't just write, when I'm talking, I talk on a subject free, flow of consciousness, unfiltered talk, which sometimes people take as shit talking. But I'm like, I hope that they decipher that as, he's not trying to hustle us. He's not trying to bullshit us, because it's not some pre-planned, spell-checked thing. He's just talking off the, top of his head. But do I think about the topic I'm going to, or should I even talk about this? Oh yeah, for a long time. As a saying, in Oh God, the movie, when he goes, I don't believe you created the world in 8 days. And George Burns in the movie says, you're right, I didn't create the world in 8 days. He goes, I thought about it for 7, and I did it in 1.
This is clear? This isn't that. I thought you were somebody else. That's right.